Warning: due to the graphic content in this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Tell us about what you saw when you walked into the living room.
Just a living room with my deceased baby in a blanket, wrapped in a blanket, like the full blanket over, just laid on the sofa with an open coffin in there. But she wasn't in the coffin, she was just laid on the sofa.
But the baby should have been still in a chapel of rest, and she wasn't. So we were like, what's going on here? We
didn't actually manage to be able to see the baby. She'd already been too far deteriorated for us to be able to look at the condition she was in. We didn't want to remember that way. She was too far gone for us to even want to remember her like that.
It's not. It wouldn't have been a state of what you'd want to remember the baby as.
Amie had took a blanket off the baby to give to us, which we were nearly sick over because the smell was that bad. She'd left her in a blanket with no cold cot, just wrapped in a blanket with her face covered and everything covered.
This is your daughter. What does that feel like as somebody who's already gone through incredible grief after trying for a baby for 4 years?
It were awful. It felt like she was the mother. Like, we want the parents of that baby. It's like she just took everything over.
A grieving mother thought she was leaving her baby boy in safe, respectful hands. Instead, when she walked into the home of someone who called herself a caretaker of a funeral parlor, she found something out of a nightmare. Her little one was placed in a bouncer, a cartoon playing on the TV, and another infant was lying on the couch. It wasn't a clinical space. It wasn't professional. It was a messy living room with pets and clutter. The woman at the center of this, Amie Upton, ran a charity called Florrie's Army. She claimed she was helping families cope after loss. But instead of proper facilities, she was keeping little ones at her house, sometimes on cooling equipment. She has been accused of putting one child's unalive body in a baby bouncer at her terraced home to, and I quote, watch cartoons. Zoe Ward, the mother of the baby boy, Blue, claimed that at the same time another one was lying on a sofa. Complaints from bereaved mothers, Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust have announced that Ms. Upton has been banned from wards and mortuaries in their hospitals. And here's the shocking part. When police investigated, they said no crimes had been committed. Because in England and Wales, the system is practically unregulated. You need more paperwork to run a sandwich shop than you do to handle human remains. That's the Wild West of death care. Families believed they were getting dignity and respect. What they got instead was trauma. Hospitals eventually banned Upton from working with them, but only after families had already been through the unimaginable. And it doesn't stop there. In another case, a family in Hull was told their loved one had been cremated, only to later discover the truth. The ashes they were given weren't real. That isn't compassion. That's cruelty disguised as incompetence. So, here's my take. This isn't just about one caretaker gone wrong. It's about a system that leaves grieving families unprotected. Scotland has strict rules. Other countries have strict rules. But in England, you can still set up shop in your living room and call yourself a professional. It's time for change. Mandatory licensing. Mandatory inspections. Clear standards for how remains must be cared for. Because if we can't protect the dignity of the lost, what does that say about how we treat the living? And to my viewers, what do you think? Should families have to research whether the person handling their loved one is official? Or should the government finally step up? Like and subscribe to Women Are Evil Too on YouTube. Because sometimes the scariest stories aren't in horror movies. They're hiding in plain sight, right in somebody's living room.